Okay, so big hair, shoulder pads, synth pop on every radio station. Anyone else getting flashbacks to the early 80s?
Ah, the 80s. A time of bold fashion choices and even bolder music, but also a decade that launched some pretty iconic careers.
And that's kind of what today's deep dive is all about. How early experiences, even ones that seem kind of random or insignificant at the time, can end up shaping you in ways you never would have imagined.
Exactly. And sometimes those early experiences, they involve rubbing shoulders with future stars. Case in point, a little show called General Hospital.
Oh, General Hospital. You know, I have to admit, I wasn't really watching soap operas back then.
Well, even if you weren't glued to the screen, there's no denying that General Hospital was a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it was a launch pad for a lot of big names. Two of those names, Demi Moore and John Stamos.
Wait a minute. Demi Moore and John Stamos, Uncle Jesse from Full House, and the star of like a million movies. It started on a soap opera.
Yep. Back in January of 1982, they both joined the cast of General Hospital.
No way. Seriously. That's wild.
Moore was playing Jackie Templeton, this ambitious reporter, and Stamos was Blackie Parrish, the classic bad boy with a heart of gold.
The soap opera archetypes.
Yeah.
So did their characters have like a big romance or something?
Actually, their storylines didn't really overlap that much, but they were both on the show for a solid 2 years, leaving in April of 1984.
2 years on a soap opera.
Yeah.
That's got to be intense. I mean, think about the sheer volume of dialogue they had to memorize. It's got to be like a boot camp for actors.
Absolutely. Soap operas, they're notorious for their fast-paced production schedules. It really forces actors to hone their craft. And, you know, you're right, it's like a training ground for bigger things.
Speaking of bigger things, didn't Demi Moore and John Stamos have a reunion recently?
They did, at the AARP Movies for Grownups Awards.
The AARP Awards. Interesting. Okay, so I'm not exactly in the AARP demographic just yet. What are those awards all about?
Well, they're basically designed to celebrate films and actors who appeal to a more mature audience. It's kind of cool, actually. They're recognizing that great stories and great performances, they don't have an age limit.
I like that. So what happened at this reunion? Did Demi and John, like, reminisce about their General Hospital days?
It was actually even more special than that. John Stamos was the one presenting Demi Moore with the award for Best Actress.
Whoa. That's got to be a pretty surreal moment, like coming full circle after all these years.
Right, and think about it, they both started out on General Hospital, and now they're both established stars being recognized at an awards ceremony. It's a real testament to the power of hard work and perseverance.
I wonder if they ever thought back in 1982 that this is where they'd end up.
Who knows, but I think it speaks to something we were talking about earlier. Those early experiences, they can have such a profound impact on your life, even if you don't realize it at the time.
It's true. You never know what's going to stick with you, what's going to inspire you, what's going to, like, light that fire.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about this reunion, right? It's not just a cute little throwback for fans. It's a reminder that our journeys are constantly evolving and that the connections we make along the way can have a lasting impact.
So Demi Moore wins Best Actress. John Stamos presents her with the award. What was the vibe like?
Well, there's this photo that General Hospital shared on their Instagram, and you can just see the genuine warmth between them. And in her acceptance speech, Demi Moore actually talked about how talent and passion don't have an expiration date.
That's awesome. It's like they're both saying, hey, we're still here, we're still doing our thing, and we're not slowing down anytime soon.
Right. And I think that's a really powerful message, especially in Hollywood, where there's so much emphasis on youth.
Yeah, Hollywood can be tough. You're constantly being judged, compared, categorized. But it seems like both Demi Moore and John Stamos, they've managed to navigate all of that and come out on top.
They have. And they've done it while staying true to themselves, which I think is the most important thing. It's so true. And I think that brings us back to the whole point of this deep dive, you know, thinking about Demi Moore and John Stamos and their journeys from soap opera stars to Hollywood icons. It makes you realize that your path isn't always a straight line.
Absolutely. There are twists and turns, unexpected detours, and sometimes those detours, they lead you to the most amazing destination.
They really do. And sometimes those detours involve a 2-year stint on a soap opera. Who knew, right?
You just never know where life's going to take you.
That's the truth. And on that note, I gotta ask, have you had any experiences like that? Something that seemed small or insignificant at the time, but ended up having a huge impact on your life? I'd love to hear about it.
Well, that's a story for another time, but I think it's a question we should all be asking ourselves. What were those seemingly fleeting moments that ended up shaping who we are?
Such a good question. And a perfect one to leave our listeners pondering. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and who knows, maybe we'll all have our own Hollywood reunion someday.